Hey, Kevin, welcome back. And last night at Lakeland Ridge in Sherwood Park, you had an electrical emergency, middle of the night. What happened?
Yeah, 3:00 in the morning, phone was ringing, and of course it's minus 30 and a little bit of wind out there, so just a miserable evening. And customer in Lakeland Ridge had a complete power failure to their home. And what it was a failure on the underground cable. And our content we've done in the past, I talk about this a lot. We have done many repairs in the Sherwood Park area over the years with failed underground service cables coming into the home. And this one just happened to fail on one of the worst evenings we've had this month, weather-wise. And basically what happened is the homeowner woke up and happened to smell that unmistakable stink of burning electrical. And they didn't know what to do. Called the fire department. So fire department arrived. Fire department called Fortis, the utility provider. And then, of course, we got a call shortly after. And what had happened was the underground cable failed somewhere between the transformer, which is out in the center of the cul-de-sac, and these people's homes, the home. And I mean, the transformer in that neighborhood likely provides power to about 6 different homes in that little cul-de-sac. And unfortunately, something happened underground, and the neutral conductor on the cable broke, blew out, disintegrated. We don't really know because at this point it is still buried at least 3 feet underground. But with the failure of that neutral connection, it caused the voltages in the home to just go crazy. And the result of that was damaged electronics. The furnace failed completely. Once we got power restored back last night, furnace would not start up. They lost some other things in the home. Even the ring doorbell stopped working, right? Like it is just when something like this happens, it can be so catastrophic to everything that you have plugged in to an outlet or just anything that's basically connected to your panel. Because when those voltages start going out of whack, we should see about 120, 125 volts to neutral or ground per leg in our panels. But when you lose that neutral connection, which keeps everything balanced on those 2 legs coming into your home, now all of a sudden, if you have more of a draw on the one leg, you're going to see a fluctuation in voltage, and our equipment that we have in our home is not designed to take a hit of 180 volts. So pretty scary situation. And thankfully Fortis was able to, save the day like they do. And we were there to assist, but it's a real problem. And especially in Sherwood Park. And, I remember when they were building these homes in these neighborhoods. I mean, I've lived in Sherwood Park 25 years.
Okay.
And previous to where these homes are now, it was farmers' fields. And farmers' fields had sloughs. And I can remember them backfilling for like a year, hauling in dirt to basically get these areas ready to build homes on. And I mean, if you live in Sherwood Park and you've ever put in a fence post or anything like that, you may have found that, you're drilling a hole a couple of feet down and it's like you sprung a leak. We got such a high water table there.
Right.
So with the underground cables that are running to these homes and the high water table that we have in some of these areas, especially where they built your home on a slough, and we get the winter freeze and then the thaw and the heaving of the ground and whatnot. And God only knows what was buried in the ground in those trenches when they backfilled and put these cables in. But just an absolute recipe for the disaster that we're experiencing more and more. And, when it happens, things can go horribly wrong in your home. You're definitely going to lose power to some degree, but the result of damage to appliances and equipment in your home because these voltages are all out of whack, it's a real problem.
Oh, that's massive. And thousands of dollars worth of damage.
Absolutely.
And something that you're not aware of. Like you just hope that your electrical system is going to work. It just works. Nobody looks at it. Nobody thinks about it. It just works, right? They flick the switch, the light turns on, it works. However, like you mentioned before, if you lose the neutral to your system, then the voltage spikes, and your sensitive electronics that are in everything, refrigerator, dishwasher, stove, microwave, television, gaming systems, phones, alarm clocks, everything has sensitive electronics, and they can all be at risk of failure.
Absolutely. And you're so right. I mean, everything we have now has, some sort of, sensitive electronics in it. If you got the old fridge from 1950 and you had this failure at your home, that thing would just keep on chugging. It wouldn't care.
Just purr faster.
That's right. That's right. So, but this is what is happening. And, you're right. You don't really know it happens until something, a big event happens. Yeah. But there are telltales that you can experience in your home. And I think it's good that people, are aware of some of the early warning signs that there could be a problem lurking underground.
Okay, let's start. What should they look for?
Well, definitely if you are finding that you have appliances or electronics like a new big screen TV or even the kids' gaming equipment, if it seems to be failing prematurely, I mean, everything is built to fail these days, unfortunately, but if you bought a new fridge and after a year you had to replace it, or that dishwasher or whatnot, and then you got another one, and it happened again, something failed. That is likely not a faulty piece of equipment. Something else is going on there where you may have some voltage fluctuation going on, and you have no way of knowing because it seems like the equipment's operating fine. But with customers that we have done these repairs on, when we start having the conversation with them, they say, yeah, you know what? We put 2 dishwashers in 3 years, or, we just had to get the fridge repaired or the washing machine or whatnot, right? Or flickering lights is another big one. And just anything that doesn't seem to be working properly in your home could be a telltale that there's a problem lurking. Unfortunately, with it being a underground cable that, unless you excavated the whole thing ahead of time, you don't really know that there could be a problem, but at least we have the ability to, maybe do some preliminary testing and that sort of thing to see if there's something that could be diagnosed prior to the big blowout at 3 a.m. and -30.
Right.
So, but I'd like to expand on what happens, the aftermath of what we experienced last night. So, Fortis, the utility company in Sherwood Park, Strathcona County, what they will do is they will bring up what they call a service saver. And it is basically a transformer on a rolling cart they bring in. They connect this piece of equipment to the remaining electrical service that is still operating, whether you've got, power on both legs coming in, or maybe you've got one leg and a neutral that are still intact. They can connect their equipment to that. And with their connection, they can basically get power back onto your home so that you're able to live comfortably, get through, the next month or so until you can get the repair done. But they put the service saver on. But at that point, now we need to find out where is the damage. I mean, you've got an underground cable that could come from, 5 doors down or across the street, or maybe it's right in your front yard, But Fortis will come out and they call it thumping the cable. Basically, they run a test on the cable and they can find where the fault is with their equipment, and they'll basically put a flag in the ground, and you hope to God that flag is on city property and not on your property. Because if it's not on your property, Fortis, to my understanding, will always make the repair at no cost to you. But if it's half an inch onto your property, it is now on you. And things get very expensive with underground cable repairs. Of course, that cable is down at least 3 feet. We had one in Sherwood Park that was actually down about 7 feet. What a nightmare that was. It's like it's like they were digging a grave. I swear to God. It was so far down because they had just backfilled so much in the final grade in that neighborhood, right? But yeah, you got this cable buried way down below, and it needs to be excavated, and the damaged area needs to be exposed. And at that point, a lot of times what we'll do is get a trench done, typically by a hydrovac method, because it doesn't damage anything else that's underground, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you've got damage 40 feet out into your front lawn. Well, we're going to get a trench done all the way back to the meter on the house so we can replace that section of cable from where the damage occurred all the way back to the house. Sometimes, depending on where the damage is, we will just splice in a new piece of cable, but I would much rather prefer to replace the cable and only have one underground splice than two. Right. But you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
The worst ones are when the fault is under the driveway. And that happens all the time. They run the underground cable to your home, and then they come in and pour the driveway. And, you think, well, it's under the concrete. It's going to be protected, right? But again, things move. Frosty, maybe you had your driveway lifted, right? Because that happens a lot in Sherwood Park, right? We got driveways that are pulling away from the garage and sinking, so they're coming in and raising them up. Disturbs the ground, something like that may be a cause. We don't really know. So if it's under the concrete, forget it. You just abandon the cable, and we get a hole dug at the property line where we know the cable is, we can get to it, and then trench back to the house. Bottom line, $4,000 to $5,000 is what it's going to cost you, maybe more. And that doesn't include any landscaping restoration. If the sidewalk needs to be cut out, like it can just, the expenses can go through the roof. And, I've had homeowners say, well, I'll dig it up myself. Do you really want to be out there trying to dig down 3-4 feet to find a live utility cable coming into your home to save $1?
A broken live utility cable.
There you go.
underneath the ground.
Yeah, that's it. So,
because there's usually more than one. There's usually your phone or internet.
Yes.
You've got power. You may have gas,
you betcha.
Water, all these things coming relatively in the same corridor, typically to your home. So I wouldn't want anything to do with that.
Well, you're right. And, these homes, a lot of them are pretty close together, and you'll have all the services on each side of the house through this one corridor. Everything comes up through the middle there, right? And so how do you get in there and just start digging away? You'd be pretty brave to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
or dumb.
Yeah.
Brave or dumb.
That's true. That's a little bit of both, right? So that's it, right? We get the hydrovac company in, and those guys aren't cheap, right? You got $1 million piece of equipment sitting in your front yard, and they're basically creating a slurry of water and vacuuming it out to create this very nice trench that we can work in. And when we do an underground splice, we need a big hole, Doug. Not only is it 3 feet down, it's got to be large enough that a dude like myself can get down in there and be able to work on this underground cable in the mud and the muck and do a proper splice on it. This is a lot to it. So fingers crossed this type of event never happens, but it's definitely becoming more and more of an issue. And, we don't, for whatever reason, we don't see it as much on the old neighborhoods. We got homes in Sherwood Park built in the 70s, late 60s. I don't know what
good
they were
ground,
doing.
I guess.
Maybe it was just
good
better ground,
yeah.
Different areas of town. And the thing is, nowadays, when you build a new home, they've gotten wise, because this is just not a Sherwood Park problem. Edmonton as well, seeing the same things happen. Now, when you have a home built, you've actually got that cable ran in an underground conduit that goes out past your property line, probably right out to the pedestal or the transformer. Because they're putting some protection around this cable so that, first of all, if there is any debris in the ground, it's not going to grind into that cable as things shift around and heave and thaw and whatnot. So that's there. And the other thing is, now that you've got this conduit run from your home all the way back to the source, if something ever happened to that cable, you could literally rip it out and pull a new one in. And you don't have to dig up the whole property, right?
Fingers crossed.
That's right.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So, but I mean, that's the, recent code changes brought that about, because prior to that, it's just put an underground cable in, and it's not even an armored cable. They just call it a USEB cable. and there's not a lot of protection on it. You could easily put a shovel through it. So bottom line, if you're noticing some odd things happening in your house, it could be a telltale that underground service cable coming to your property is nearing the point of failure.
And there you have it. And if that is the case, what should they do? What can anybody do?
First thing to do would be you could give us a call. A lot of times we'll bring Fortis in. We've got such a good relationship with Fortis in Strathcona County. So we'll just make a call and have them meet us on site. And they'll do some testing on their end. And at least they'll be able to see if there is a failure. And, they've got some pretty robust testing equipment. So there may be a chance that they can find it prior to it actually failing. But bottom line is, don't ignore odd things happening in your home. It's not just the gremlins or the ghosts, right? Something weird may be going on in there, and it shouldn't be.
That's right. So lights flickering is not necessarily a poltergeist. It could be an electrical issue. All right. Perfect.
Absolutely.
All right, Kevin. Hey, thanks so much for sharing with us. As always, a wealth of knowledge in the electrical field. If you guys are in the Sherwood Park area and you have some questions about your electrical system, contact Kevin from Halo Power. He'll be happy to come out and suss out what the problem is and get you a quote and do the work.
Absolutely. Yeah, we do it all start to finish.
All right. See you on the next one.
Thank you.